What's going on, Internet? I'm Christopher Peterson. You're listening to a Nerd EXP interview. I'm hanging out with Dan Carroll.
Hello. Hey, Chris.
Hey, Dan. Thanks for being on.
I'm so happy to be part of this team.
If you don't know, Dan is Seriously Dan. He has his own podcast. Check it out. But he's also the media relations director for DragonCon. DragonCon is the largest convention in the known universe. If you think there's a convention larger, you're probably wrong. Or they're skewing the numbers. But DragonCon is in Atlanta. I did a previous interview with Kevin Stallard, the video game programming director of DragonCon, so check that out. Dan is the media relations director, so has kind of a different spin and feel. So people like me who have blogs and websites, and then larger outlets, Dan kind of facilitates and makes sure that they're there to cover the convention, get those interviews, get those great quotes, and kind of manages the whole team and puts it all together and makes it look effortlessly.
I appreciate that sentence. It's actually a lot of hard work, but it's a lot of work done with a lot of love. One of the things that we might want to start with is saying, hey, what is this DragonCon? And that's kind of what my job is, to go out to the world apart from the geeks and translate. I used to be a translator in the Navy. Now I'm a translator in the geek world. It's not always understandable that you said we were the largest convention, and it's not just that we're super the largest in the universe. That is used to be our official tagline, but we're also really diverse, and that's some of the things we can talk about today.
Yeah, so one of the things about DragonCon, maybe historical, I feel like nowadays geek culture is culture. Star Wars, Avengers, Batman, Jurassic World, stuff that like 20 years ago maybe people didn't know about as much or were more embarrassed, or you had movies like Revenge of the Nerds making fun of the nerds. But now, like nowadays, they should make a movie called Revenge of the Jocks because they're the outsiders, they're the weird ones. How has DragonCon kind of evolved to take in that extra capacity and those extra feet on the floor and more more panels and just kind of more diversification of nerd culture becoming mainstream?
Well, from day one of the things that DragonCon has done is listen to their audience. They've listened to their audience. They've listened for trends. They've tried to stay ahead of trends. I remember a famous story that the board likes to talk about is the time they were having a senior directors meeting and somebody walks in and goes, "You got to get these guys from this new show. It's going to be gangbusters." And everybody said, "I never even heard of that show." And they said, "No, you'll love it. Everybody, don't even bother watching it. Just go ahead and get everybody you can get from Firefly, because this show just came out and it's going to be amazing." And that's part of the way we think. We look ahead. We look to what's going on. This year, we've got a lot of folks from Lost Girl. Lost Girl is completely different. And then we also have a lot of folks from Arrow, and we're riding that tide, and we brought those Arrow guests in before Arrow caught on to the point it is now, and of course now that they've got the sequel, spinoff in the Flash. We've got Flash guests. We're also looking forward to seeing what we can do in the future with some of the other DC properties on television. So we're constantly looking to see how we can present the best and get the best for our attendees.
So you're the media relations director for DragonCon.
I
am. What does that mean?
Well, it means a lot of things. When I first started working at DragonCon, put a little personal history in there, I was the guy who worked the help desk and helped people find the restrooms. And the one thing that did more than anything else was teach me how to know everything that was going on at DragonCon and where it was. So the opening came up, and at that time it was called Press Liaison. And I interviewed for it, but I'm an IT project manager and a PMP, so I walked in looking at this as a new project to do. And I brought in project perspectives, some ideas on how to manage growth, how to generate growth. And I figured, okay, well, if this works out, I'll do this for a couple of years, and maybe 2, maybe 3 years they'll put up with me, and then I'll leave. But then I got into that role, and it evolved and changed. We brought in professionalism. I actually brought in PMI, which is Project Management Institute methodologies, and we built a team. So what we do in media relations is three things. One, we make sure that the reporters who want to come to DragonCon are reporters in truth, actually reporters, and we vet them and we research them, and then once we have the answers to all those questions, we approve them and support them. Some other times we're not able to approve the reporters who want to come for a couple of reasons, but we try to bring in as many people as possible. We want everybody singing in the DragonCon chorus who has a voice. So, pardon me. So the next part of what I do is go out and find reporters in the local community and national community who may not have heard of DragonCon yet. And we call that outreach because I'm reaching out to them. Not rocket science, but it is public relations. So then the third thing is for those people who are approved as media, they're responsible. We like working with them. We know that we can trust them, and we know that they've got I don't want to say big distribution, but they have an effective distribution. How's that? Then we work with the agents, and we serve as a in-between person between the agents and the reporters so that we can get as many guest interviews arranged as possible. Some of the things that when I took over, we did not have an active, valid registry of reporters, and we put the reporter application online, and now we can track it and we can move forward. We're actually it's been a really great tool for us. So the next thing we did was come up with systems to request interviews. My first day on the job, I said, well, I have a reporter who wants to talk to a celebrity, and I was told, tell the reporter to go find the celebrity and ask for an interview, and then tell the reporter to go find a place that's quiet to do the interview. And I did not find that acceptable. And it was not the fault of DragonCon. It was just we weren't prepared for the growth. My first year, the year before I took over, we had 28,000 reporters. That's what I want to say. My first year, I'm sorry, not reporters, because that would be phenomenal. We had 28,000 attendees and 105 reporters. By my third year, we were over 40, and we were looking at 300 to 350 in terms of reporters. So as we grew, we had to just continue to up our game, increase the level of doing what we did, and I think we've done pretty well. We've got a national reputation as the convention that reporters want to cover from the reporter's point of view. Let me take that back. We have the reputation as being the convention reporters enjoy covering, and I'll leave that Satan where it is. So that's the story of what we do and how we got here.
No, that sounds great. I can definitely tell that you're in PR. You had a lot of good word choices, effective distribution, enjoy covering, nice, good buzzwords to keep the conversation moving forward. One thing you touched upon a couple times is growth and how much DragonCon has grown. And now it's up to 5 hotels, taking over downtown Atlanta. Is this growth continuous and sustainable? Like, are you guys going to be 7 hotels, 8 hotels, 10 hotels? Or do you see kind of not a breaking point, but a point of plateauing?
Well, I would tell you that I'm not a man with a crystal ball. Eventually, changes are made, but we have continued to make changes throughout. It's not a when is DragonCon going to adjust to growth? DragonCon adjusts to growth several times during the year. We take it very seriously, and we work with the hotels. We work with the fire department, a very important partner in what we do, and the police department to make sure that we are providing the best security for our attendees. But I'll throw one thing out to you, which is that this is your first year, and I want to talk about that a lot in a few minutes. But as it's your first year, you weren't here last year. We had our vending for the past 2 years in America's Mart Hall A. We have moved it from Hall 1. Now we've moved it to Hall 2. So we're in what's called America's Mart 2 now. And America's Mart 2 gives us an opportunity to expand what we already have and also prepare ourselves to be able to go beyond what we're doing. So we've got the floors that we're using for vending now, and we can expand that. We have America's Mart Building 1 still available to us to expand. So we've got 7, 8, maybe 9 total floors. I don't know. I don't have the math in front of me. I don't have the map. But we've got plenty of more floors to expand into. And one thing that has been such a great success is people are like, well, I can't get into the hotels. Well, there are 5 host hotels, and it is hard to get into them. But in addition to the host hotels, we have so many other partner hotels that are working throughout the area, and some of them still have rooms available now. And these overflow hotels, as we used to call them, will no longer be called overflow, because the truth is they are also partners with us. It might be a different capacity, but there's plenty of opportunity for us to work with them in the future. Now, all that being said, I'm just a guy who talks about stuff. There's other folks who sit around and make decisions, and that is without a doubt not what I do. But we'll see how that goes.
So DragonCon is definitely huge, and we touched upon the guests. And you kind of mentioned this briefly, but the vendors. How is the vendor setup or Artist Alley? What's kind of different about the vendor experience at DragonCon as opposed to just looking online?
Well, there are a lot. First off, just the ability to reference what you're thinking about purchasing and putting your hands on it and being able to spin it around. And, a lot of the fun is not just necessarily what you're buying. It's also stuff that you're considering. And maybe you'll buy it. Maybe you're not ready to make the purchase. But it's just fun to just walk through this massive dealer area where there's vendors and then there's dealers, and you have small mom and pop shops and you have giant corporations represented. One of the things I did this year was our DragonCon Media Relations podcast. I actually grabbed a friend of mine who's a vendor at DragonCon. She has been for a while, and another friend of mine who is an artist, but he sells his wares in the comic and pop art alley. And I sat down with them and had them explain what the experience is like for them in a way that I wouldn't be able to understand. And the point of it was to help reporters cover, but it also gave a lot of really good insight into the DragonCon community, because it's a very mixed community of artists, creators, fans, musicians who are just amazing, and it also includes folks who may not have been what's the word I'm looking for here, who may not have fallen to any particular niche, but they do amazing things at DragonCon.
That sounds great. Definitely, one thing I hear about DragonCon is spirit of inclusiveness and kind of fans, and they kind of make the experience not just the guests. The guests are definitely important, but just kind of the camaraderie amongst the convention goers. I think one place that I look forward to seeing that more is the parade. I've heard a lot of things mentioned about the parade and its new route and kind of just the scope of it, how it takes over downtown Atlanta. What are your thoughts on this year's parade?
Well, I'll say I'm not necessarily sure it takes over as much as infuses downtown Atlanta. And that's what the parade does. It's the largest parade in Atlanta right now, and it is all about just doing and representing and feeling in ways that we don't normally get to do 9 to 5. The parade's been going now for 12, 13 years, And we're very happy that Nichelle Nichols is joining us again. She was our first Grand Marshal, and now she's coming back. So that's pretty cool. But that being said, the parade is 3,200 people marching a mile down Peachtree Street, dressed up as superheroes, dressed up as Doctor Who characters, dressed up as Star Wars characters. You name it, somebody's costuming it. And the city just embraces this. This is our gift to the city. It's our way to give the city something to look at, something amazing, while we're still celebrating our community. And for the community, 85,000 people expected at the parade this year. We had about 80 last year, maybe a little more. And this is just something we're really going to celebrate.
Definitely makes sense. Something to be proud of, and kind of that inclusion in the city working together to bring the convention together. You mentioned that this will be my first year. What advice do you have for people attending Dragon Con for the first time, or if even this is their first convention this year?
Well, if you're coming from out of town, make sure that you have your arrangements for where you're staying. Lodging is very important during Dragon Con week here in town. And if you go to dragoncon.org, there's plenty of opportunity. There's plenty of information about how to find a place in the overflow hotel section. So you get yourself, you know what you're doing. Download the app. Have you gotten the app yet?
Yes, sir. The DragonCon app lists out the schedule of events and kind of guests, and it lists out the guests that are appearing. And it's a great tool for planning your days and trying to see what events and kind of coordinating where you think you want to spend your time most. And then you'll attend DragonCon and maybe throw that all out the window, as there's so much to see and so much to do.
Have we talked about this before? Because you're stealing my best line. And the truth is, there is so much going on at DragonCon, so much wonderful going on at DragonCon. Sometimes what you think is going to be your raison d'etre or where you're going to end up changes when you turn around and see something so much more amazing than you could imagine. And that's where DragonCon is. That's where DragonCon is so wondrous. One of the hard things about my job at DragonCon is trying to explain DragonCon, because there's just so much going on.
I think you've done a good job so far.
I'm working on it. I've done it before, but never, with you. So that's really cool that I get to try something new.
Definitely. Maybe this might be a difficult question, and I apologize. What do you think is going to be something that fans are really going to look forward to this year's DragonCon?
Well, a couple things. I think the huge panels for Arrow, and we've got so many other cool shows represented. Their fans are going to look forward to that. Some fans are going to look forward to the opportunity to get a photo op. We call them photo ops. It's a purchase. You purchase a time, and you're able to get a photograph with some of your favorite celebrities. Some fans are going to look forward to the masquerade. The masquerade is a costume contest with a twist that the participants have to actually act out what they're doing. So it's not just a matter of wearing a World of Warcraft costume. It's you have to act out a battle. And sometimes it's in a humorous way, sometimes it's in a deadly earnest way, but usually it's just a whole lot of fun.
No, that sounds great. I think that's one thing that I look forward to looking at the program, is just kind of the diversity of huge guests that I would think anybody would know on the street, and then kind of more of those niche guests that if you're really into science fiction or video games or a specific show, that this will be the person who you maybe never thought you'd get a chance to meet, and you will be able to meet them. And then there are a lot of the fan meet and greet, where you would just hang out with your fellow fans and kind of geeks or nerds, depending on how you want to fall on that line, to kind of just bond over a shared interest.
Oh, and it's so much about friendship, and it's so much about long-term relationships. I'm part of a group that meets here in Atlanta, and what's great about it is it's very actively involved in DragonCon. and it includes like the Star Wars track director from DragonCon as a member, and it's just so much fun to see that these friendships go on and continue on a daily basis outside of DragonCon. This is not just show up for DragonCon and be buddies. I always like to say that a few years ago I needed help moving moving from one apartment to another, and I was moving furniture that I had purchased off one friend who was a DragonCon volunteer, and I had another DragonCon director moving it, and that this becomes this family of just caring and so much involvement with life. So it's not just about Doctor Who. It's not just about Star Trek. It becomes about who we are as people and how we share and grow.
If there's some young whippersnapper out there, or whatever an old whippersnapper, who's interested and thinks they want to do your job or be part of your team, what's kind of the best way to volunteer and get involved and be more than just kind of an attendee of DragonCon?
Well, the first thing is DragonCon has a wide range of volunteer opportunities. Some of them require really sophisticated skills. Some of them don't. We try to, in our department, really I want to make sure I get the wording right here. We try to do what we can to build a professionalism. And it's really important that I like to hire legal secretaries, for instance, in my department, because they understand what it's like to deal with people on important matters. And what I do, I like to say that the secret of my life is that I don't take myself seriously, but I take what I do seriously. And that is something to consider, that we should have somebody who takes it seriously to entertain fans. And that's what we do. We entertain. We're an entertainment event, or an entertainment organization. So that would be something that would be important. But overall, you go to DragonCon.org, check what opportunities are there, and contact the director. If you're thinking about volunteering for 2016 and you'd like to be part of the DragonCon media relations team, the easiest way to get that approval would be to reach out to me at DragonCon and try to spend some time with me and Samantha. Samantha is the interview manager at DragonCon, but she's also my direct second. We have second in command. I don't have a assistant director. I have a second in command. I know it sounds funny, but that's what I have.
Do you call it number one?
I do not.
I'm surprised you would have time. I would think that during DragonCon, you would be slammed with reporters asking questions and kind of guests having weird last-minute requests or kind of hiccups and kind of logistics. So what's actually kind of a typical day for you when the convention's going on, if you have a typical day?
Actually, it's pretty consistently. I want to make sure I say this properly. It's pretty consistently what I do Thursday one year, I'm going to do Thursday the next year. What I'm going to do Friday one year, I'm going to do Friday the next. So I have that type of schedule, for better or for worse. But probably the interesting thing, we start with a pub crawl where we invite reporters to come with us, walking through Atlanta. I'm sorry, walking through DragonCon, not all of Atlanta. We don't have time for that. And I believe the expression is, "Ain't nobody got time for that."
Yes.
So we don't have time to walk through all of. We don't even have time, honestly, to walk through all of DragonCon. We walk through 3 hotels, stop a little bit, give a lecture, grab a beverage, stop some more, give a lecture, have another beverage, and it's a way for us to become familiar on a personal level with the reporters, and also for the reporters to know who we are, and not just myself, but our whole team, or at least whoever can make it. Thursday is registration day. It is usually filled with me being at a TV station at 5 in the morning. I tell people I'm in a suit at 5 in the morning every day at DragonCon, and they laugh, and then they find out that I was really in a suit.
Well, that's kind of so. You're in a suit at 5 in the morning. Are you in a suit all day?
I am Thursday, Friday. I am. I will. So I have a reporter crawl, a reporter tour separate from the pub crawl on Friday. But I already know what my schedule is from 7 a.m. till 9 a.m. I will be doing talking headshots on local news that'll broadcast live. I'll be wrangling interviews with our attendees, some of our professionals, and some of our just folks who do cool stuff, also with reporters from various towns, from Atlanta and Greenville. So when that is done at 9 o'clock and the last camera is turned off, I will run into a men's room and I will change out of my sport coat and slacks, and I will change into a pair of cargo shorts and a Hawaiian shirt, and I will lead the reporter tour starting at 9:30.
Did John Lasseter steal that from you?
I'm sorry?
I said, did John Lasseter steal the Hawaiian shirt from you?
No, I've been doing Hawaiian shirts for years, years. And that doesn't mean, and you're talking about the guy from the cartoons, right?
From Pixar.
Pixar, yeah. No, I've been wearing Hawaiian shirts for years. I'm an IT guy, and everywhere I've worked, I've instigated, and that's the word for it, instigated, the usage of Hawaiian Shirt Friday. So they're comfortable, they're breathable, they're designed for hot weather, and Atlanta during DragonCon is hot weather. So that is not a mystery there. But yes, Hawaiian shirts are fine. And my Hawaiian shirts are always tasteful, relatively, lurid, but respectful, also. So that's the Hawaiian shirt part of my day. And it's a lot of fun. And then I will take a shower after the tour, and then I will take care of administrative work for a while. And there's a lot of administrative work to be done. The first time I implemented handlers at DragonCon, one of my team members laughed at me and said that I'd gone too far. And the first hour and a half I had somebody that I could send on missions. They were sent on missions constantly. They did 3 major runs for me and it wasn't that they were taking care of me. It wasn't that situation. It was that they were allowed me to stay put while other things were taken care of. So we have registration going on, and then we have on the other side registration going on, and on the other side we have the interviews setting up on Friday. And it's a lot of fun. It's a whole lot of fun. And, you've worked with me at smaller conventions, so it's a lot different at DragonCon. I just will throw that out. My schedule, my time is a lot different. So it's a lot of fun, as I said. So do you have another question besides? Oh, and then I interview, and then Sunday I start looking. We have a demanding responsibility on us in the media relations department, and we have a lot of people who want to volunteer, and then we also have a lot of people who want to volunteer for 1 year. So Sunday I spend a lot of time interviewing people who want to work for me next year.
So that definitely sounds great. Thank you for that insight into kind of what goes on behind the scenes a little bit. I'm sure there's a lot more that people don't realize as they're enjoying the convention, kind of how many people and just kind of the scope of everything involved to make it happen. Kind of switching gears a little bit, and maybe this will be, I don't mean this to be a hardball question, but like, what's one of your favorite DragonCon memories, either as a guest or as the director of media relations?
Well, I'll go ahead and throw one out. And it's not ginormous, but it's very touching to me. I'm a big fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I happen to have a friend who was really good friends with Jane Espenson. And I got to meet Nick, Brendan, and Claire Kramer and be on TV with them. Actually, only my shoulder was on TV. The reporter nudged me over. I didn't care about that because I'm doing my job. My job is to get people talking about DragonCon. My job is not to get people talking about Dan Carroll. there's a time and a place to talk about Dan Carroll, and that's not when I've got reporters and I've got 15 minutes and I need to get celebrities on the air. So, we take it seriously. We have a lot of fun, but we take it seriously. Anyway, one of the things that we talked about was, I said, we have a mutual friend. I mentioned his name, and Nick Brendan played Xander. He was like, oh, that's great. I love that guy, And I had gotten a picture of myself, Claire Kramer, Nick Brendan. On Sunday of Dragon Con, I come back. I want to get their autographs because it means a lot to me. So I want to get their autographs on it. And Nick Brendan is at his table. There's not a lot of there's no lines. It's really quiet in the Walk of Fame. They're about to close. And he looks up and goes, "Hey, Dan, where's your suit? How can they let you walk around without a suit?" And I'm like, I had told him, yeah, well, I'm the guy who wears a suit. I don't cosplay because I'm supposed to be the grown up. And I was wearing slacks and a polo shirt. I was still dressed business casual. I just wasn't in a suit anymore. And to me, that shows how nice some of these guests are.
Thank you, Dan, definitely for sharing that story. For Dragon Con, is there anything else that you would like to call out at this time?
That is, folks, find out more information about DragonCon at www.dragoncon.org. Think about how awesome these volunteers are who put it together, and the folks who started DragonCon 29 years ago. We wouldn't have it if folks like Pat Henry and Dave Cody and Bobby, love you, Bobby, if these guys had not fought so hard to keep DragonCon growing and make it what it is today. There's a great story. Pat Henry and his wife were standing on the balcony and they were thinking, this is it. We don't need to do this anymore. It's just too exhausting. And suddenly the crowd starts parting and the 501st starts walking through. And they looked at each other and said, we can't ever stop this. This is the coolest thing. If we feel this way about it, how do the other people feel? And that's exactly what we try to do at DragonCon. We try to give you that feeling of just pure excitement.
So if you're out there listening and it's 2015, or you know what, if it's 2016, 2017, 2040, and you've stumbled across this, check out DragonCon. It occurs in Atlanta on Labor Day weekend. Hopefully that's still true 30 years from now. If you want to hear more, like Dan said, check out dragoncon.org. You can also follow DragonCon on Twitter or hit them up on Facebook. If you're interested in covering DragonCon and you are a reporter or have media access, you can apply for that. Or if you just want to be a volunteer and help out and maybe be the future Dan Carroll. So Dan, thank you for your time. Definitely appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I just felt sorry for this poor person that you were wishing my job on.
And thank you guys out there for listening. I hope that you enjoyed this interview and that we'll see you at DragonCon. Level up, friends.
Thank you.